Ethan's childhood sweetheart was dying. I received this news while lying on the operating table. Ethan threw down his scalpel and told his colleague, "I'll have to trouble you with my wife's surgery." With that, he turned and left. Watching his retreating figure, I couldn't hold back my tears. The next second, a cold scalpel pressed against my skin. His colleague spoke in a calm tone. "What are you crying for? With me here, you won't die." Chapter 1. Snap! Ethan wordlessly tossed his scalpel aside. He peeled off his gloves and threw them into the trash. "I can't perform this surgery. Get Joseph." This was the 20th minute since Oriana's accident. My composed and rational husband finally showed a crack in his demeanor. He abruptly halted my surgery, turned his back to everyone, and pretended to calmly remove his surgical gear, but his slightly trembling hands betrayed him. Oriana was in trouble. He was on the verge of losing his mind with worry. If he could, he would have flown to her side that very second. "Professor Ethan, your wife's heart rate is rising. She's anxious. Are you sure you want to leave at a time like this?" A faint pain spread through my chest. I calmly told the nurse, "It's fine. Anyone can perform the surgery." The people in the operating room looked at me with sympathy. I merely smiled. The day Oriana returned, I knew my marriage with Ethan had come to an end. To ask Ethan to abandon a dying Oriana and perform surgery on me? He couldn't do it, and I didn't want to entrust my life to a man like that. The door of the operating room slid open silently. A tall figure wearing a mask stepped inside. It was Ethan's colleague, Joseph. As they passed each other, Ethan said, "Julia's surgery. I'll leave it to you. If I don't go now, I might regret it for the rest of my life." Hearing his words, silent tears streamed down my face. How pathetic. "Julia, it's just being abandoned again. Why are you crying?" A shadow fell over my vision. A cold scalpel touched my skin. The ever-distant, reserved Dr. Joseph spoke in his usual indifferent tone. "What are you crying for? With me here, you won't die." The surgery lasted 2 hours. By the time I was wheeled out, the evening sky had darkened, and rain was pouring outside. Joseph remained by my side until he was certain I was stable before he left. Ethan's call came in just as the anesthesia was wearing off, and pain racked my body in cold sweat. I answered, only to hear a lively, playful female voice. "Sorry, sis-in-law." I don't know what his friend told him, but it was just a minor scrape. Ethan ran off in a panic without even checking. I already scolded him. Then came her teasing laughter. A grown man in his 30s. "Still so impulsive. Did you think we were still dating? There's an extra milk tea, bring it to sis-in-law as an apology." There was some rustling on the other end, as if Ethan had taken the phone away. "I told you already. If you don't want an infected wound, stay put. She just had surgery. She can't drink milk tea. It's all for you." The conversation on the other end carried an easy, harmonious tone, except for Ethan's friend, who sounded utterly wronged. "I only said you were in a car accident." And he hung up on me in a panic. "What does that have to do with me? If you two want to be all lovey-dovey, leave me out of it." A nauseating pain suddenly spread from my wound. My chest tightened unbearably. The words I had intended to say, asking Ethan for painkillers, were swallowed back. Without a word, I hung up. The door opened, and a nurse walked in, handing me a pill with a smile. "Here, Dr. Joseph prescribed you a painkiller. Take it and get some rest." Chapter 2. Since I had to return to work, I was discharged after only 3 days. As I stepped out of the hospital, I immediately spotted Ethan's car parked outside. Instinctively, I reached for the passenger seat door. A soft gasp of surprise rang out. Only then did I notice Oriana retracting her body from the driver's seat. Her disheveled collar, coupled with the slightly provocative glint in her eyes, made me freeze in place. "Sis-in-law, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." She looked as if she was on the verge of tears. Ethan calmly removed a strand of hair tangled around his watch. His tone was cool, with a hint of reprimand. "Don't say nonsense. Don't let Julia misunderstand." Then he turned to me, offering an explanation. She was picking something up when her hair got caught on my watch. I knew Ethan wasn't lying. He had always been straightforward and honorable. Before our marriage, Ethan had made it clear to me. I've had a past relationship, but after we marry, I will remain loyal to you. But sometimes, that boundary blurred, becoming the perfect breeding ground for ambiguity. Like right now. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my throat. Ethan, we need to talk. I don't want anyone else around. Perhaps sensing my emotions, Oriana bit her lip. Ethan, I think I should take a cab home instead. Sis-in-law seems upset. Ethan remained steady. Can you even walk on your own? Oriana's face turned pale, though she forced a smile. I'll try. But she didn't get up immediately. She sat there, waiting. Even Ethan turned to look at me, his gaze calm and deep, the same as always. Yet somehow, I knew he was hoping I would say something, preferably something understanding and mature. But I refused to swallow my grievances anymore. I stepped aside, making way. Get out. There are plenty of taxis at the intersection. Oriana stiffened, her eyes reddened as she silently got out of the car. I slid into her seat. A suffocating silence filled the space. After a long moment, Ethan finally spoke. His tone gentle. You don't need to take your anger out on her just because I left. You know the emergency call came in. I was only doing my duty. If it were anyone else, I would have left just the same. I didn't have the energy to dissect what had truly been in his heart at that moment. I was just tired. Ethan, let's get a divorce. The car screeched to a sudden halt. Everything inside tumbled to the floor. Ethan's brows furrowed slightly. Julia, what's the point of this? Because of Oriana? I endured the dull ache from my surgical wound and said, yes, because of Oriana. Just then, a sharp cry rang out from outside. A car horn blared. At the street corner, Oriana had fallen, right in the most conspicuous spot where we could see everything clearly. I stared at the crowd gathering around her and let out a mocking chuckle. Your Oriana just fell. Aren't you going to check on her? A chill radiated from Ethan's entire being. He restarted the car, his voice cold. You're already divorcing me. Why would I care about a stranger? Chapter 3. The atmosphere on the drive home was ice cold. When we arrived, our cat, Marshmallow, immediately trotted over, rubbing against us and meowing. Ethan had given me Marshmallow the year we got married. At night, Marshmallow always slept between us. Ethan stared at the cat for a moment before bending down to pick it up, his tone helpless. Marshmallow, Mom and Dad had a fight. Can you ask Mom to forgive Dad? Marshmallow, as if it understood, let out a soft meow and looked at me. This was Ethan's go-to tactic whenever we argued. He knew that Marshmallow was my weakness. But this time, I pressed my lips together and said nothing. Ethan lowered his head and softened his voice. I had Joseph prescribe you painkillers. Have you been taking them? You told him to prescribe them? Ethan raised a brow slightly. Who else? You thought I wouldn't care about you? He leaned in and kissed me, his long fingers cupping my face. The coolness of his fingertips sent a shiver through me. Julia, I'm not foolish enough to destroy our marriage. His gentle murmur brushed against my ear. Be good. Let's not divorce. All right? No, not at all. If Oriana had come back 3 years ago, I wouldn't have minded. After all, Ethan and I met through a blind date. A scholarly family matched with a prestigious medical lineage. A perfect marriage on paper, yet emotionally distant. I was a university professor. Ethan was always busy with work. In our first year of marriage, the number of dates we had could be counted on one hand. I didn't even remember when I started liking Ethan. Maybe it was just the result of spending time together. Maybe it was that rainy night when I got into a car accident, and the driver who hit me screamed insults at me nonstop. Ethan rushed over in the pouring rain, a composed, respectable medical professor, throwing punches for my sake. With a bruised face, he wiped away my tears, his tone both exasperated and indulgent. What are you crying for? Julia, you can always rely on me. But the man who once told me I could rely on him. 3 days after I was discharged from the hospital, he appeared in Oriana's WeChat post. That day, I had just finished a lecture and was standing in my office, filling my cup with water. I opened WeChat, and Oriana's post popped up without warning. Her knee had a fresh bandage. The caption read, "The price of being abandoned halfway? The esteemed professor personally coming over to change my dressing." A while later, She deleted the post. Then she uploaded a new one. Got scolded. Next time, I'll stay put and wait for you to come back. Attached was a cute selfie. She looked gentle and innocent. Her lips slightly swollen, like a kitten, pitiful and coaxed into submission. In the corner of the photo, I saw Ethan's watch, removed and set aside. My hand trembled as I set down my cup. It wasn't until a colleague called my name that I snapped out of the sickening nausea in my stomach. I recognized the table in the background. It was Ethan's parents' house. He had taken Oriana home. Ethan's parents always said I had a vengeful streak. As a child, if a dog bit me, I would bite it back. Now that things had escalated this far, there was no reason for me to stay quiet. I decisively gave Oriana's post a like. Then I left a comment. Nice watch. After that, I put my phone on silent. By the time I finished my lecture, it was nearly noon. I checked my phone and saw 7 or 8 missed calls from Ethan. 3 from Oriana. Her post was gone. Ethan's call came in again. His tone was exasperated. Julia, why aren't you answering your phone? It's Monday. I was teaching. He paused for a moment, probably realizing I never answered calls while in class. In the silence that followed, I knew he was trying to figure out how to explain. But the more he tried, the guiltier he seemed. So I waited. Sure enough, Oriana's voice soon came through the speaker, tearful. I'm sorry, sis-in-law. I hadn't seen uncle and aunt in so long, so I came to visit. Ethan happened to be there, so he just helped me change my bandage. Please don't fight because of me. I chuckled. Which eye of yours saw me fighting with him? You're so flustered. Did you do something shameful? Julia. Ethan's voice turned cold, warning me. My parents are here. Watch your words. Oriana was just posting out of gratitude. She did nothing wrong. There's no reason for her to endure your accusations. Perhaps because I remained silent too long. Ethan grew impatient. What time do you get off work? I'll pick you up. Mom made dumplings. My chest tightened. I took a deep breath and smiled. Ethan, in that house, if she's there, I won't be. Silence. A long one. I didn't know that Oriana had put the call on speakerphone. My voice echoed in the living room. Everyone heard it. Ethan's patience finally ran out. His voice turned cold. Fine, suit yourself. Then he hung up first. Chapter 4. This was the first Cold War in my 3-year marriage with Ethan. Not too soon, not too late. Just in time for Oriana's stage play, Reuniting Lovers, to premiere. The teachers in my office couldn't stop raving about it. I heard it's about reconnecting with an ex. Really touching. A lot of people got back together with their exes after watching it. I tuned out all the gossip, picked up a silk banner, and headed to Ethan's hospital. Joseph was the one who received me. Ethan's not here. You want to give it to him another day? He wore a light blue mask, his pale skin stark against the white coat, hands casually tucked into his pockets, cool and detached as always. I smiled. It's for you. To thank you for performing my surgery last time. Joseph's light-colored eyes studied me for a moment. He said nothing, just took the banner and hung it on the wall. I asked, Dr. Joseph, I should come to you for my stitches removal, right? If your Ethan is too busy, come to me. Ethan was definitely too busy. During our Cold War, he moved back into his parents' house. His house calls increased from twice a week to 4 times a week. But he never once contacted me. Maybe he was waiting for me to cave and come find him at the hospital. But I never did. Instead, I deliberately chose times when he wasn't around and had Joseph handle all my follow-ups. Half a month later, Ethan finally lost patience and called me. Why do you keep going to Joseph? For my follow-ups. My outpatient days are Monday through Thursday. Why do you always wait until the weekend to see him? I chuckled. What's wrong with you today? Why are you so upset? I have lectures from Monday to Thursday. When would I have the time? Ethan's voice was cold. Julia, do you even know what you're doing? Some people are like that. They become detached in a relationship, then grow paranoid, assuming their partner must be doing the same. I kindly made a suggestion. Why don't you switch your outpatient hours to the weekend? Silence. Oriana's play was scheduled for the weekend. He couldn't bear to miss it. I hung up and looked up, meeting Joseph's calm, detached gaze. I paused slightly. What's wrong? Joseph lowered his eyes, his long fingers brushing lightly over my medical records. Julia, you've had 3 prescriptions for sleeping pills this week. I can't give you any more. It's fine. I can just drink myself to sleep. Thanks for everything these past few days. Joseph watched me force a smile, then suddenly asked, "Want to drink together tonight?" What? He took off his rubber gloves and stood up. There's a department dinner. Ethan should be there too. So that's what this was. As a doctor's spouse, attending their department gatherings was nothing unusual. So I agreed and went. Ironically, Ethan, who normally attended these gatherings, didn't show up tonight. Seeing me arrive and realizing I had been stood up, his colleagues all looked at me with sympathy. During dinner, they took extra care to include me, whether intentional or not. The drinks Joseph placed beside me were mild and smooth, not harsh. Before long, I started feeling lightheaded. Near the end of the meal, their department's group chat suddenly buzzed. Joseph's phone was on the table, screen facing up, right next to me, so I saw it. A photo. Ethan, back facing the camera, standing in a kitchen, cooking. The message was deleted less than 30 seconds after it was sent. Ethan explained in the group chat, "Sorry, my wife was just playing around." Immediately, every gaze at the table turned to me. The room fell into a suffocating silence. Chapter 5. I knew it. Ethan had crossed the line, like a train suspended in midair, thrilled by the rush, yet never plunging into the abyss. He had merely cooked a meal for Oriana at his parents' house. I couldn't question it, or else I would be labeled unreasonable. But honestly, shouldn't I have seen this coming? I had already learned to accept these things with calm indifference. I didn't even feel hurt anymore. After the dinner, the group decided that Joseph should give me a ride home. Before I got in the car, a few of Ethan's female colleagues came over to comfort me. "Don't overthink it. Just get some rest first." I had drunk quite a bit, so I numbly thanked them all before resting my head against the seat and falling asleep. Joseph drove steadily, so steadily that when the car finally stopped downstairs, it took his voice calling my name to pull me out of my dream. At some point, my phone had slipped onto Joseph's side. Instinctively, I reached for it, and my hair got caught on his wristwatch. The situation was absurdly ironic, a ridiculous, cliché twist of fate. I let out a helpless laugh. "Sorry." Joseph immediately removed his watch and stepped back, creating space so I could free my hair myself. Before I could even thank him, the car door was suddenly yanked open from the outside. A gust of cold wind rushed in. Ethan stood at the door, his voice eerily calm before the storm. "Julia, you better explain to me what exactly you're doing." This was the first time Ethan had ever lost control in front of me. His voice barely masked his anger. His grip tightened around my wrist as he pulled me out of Joseph's car. The alcohol-induced haze faded instantly. I met his gaze with icy calm. "Let go of me. I did nothing wrong. I saw everything." For the first time, the ever-composed Professor Ethan's face showed genuine rage. Suddenly, I remembered that day when I was discharged from the hospital. A nearly identical scene. A mocking smile tugged at my lips. My hair just got tangled in his watch. Don't misunderstand. Ethan must have recalled that moment too. His furious expression froze, but his instinctive reaction disgusted me, because I knew, if he were truly innocent, if he had a clear conscience, he would have fought me on this. He would have stood his ground, telling me that he and Oriana were nothing, that I was being unreasonable. But Ethan didn't. He panicked. He wavered. He let go of me, standing there speechless for a long time, because in that moment, when Oriana leaned toward him, he had thought about it. He had wanted that grand, long-awaited reunion with her. He had considered abandoning his role as a husband, pressing her against the seat, kissing her recklessly. It was only my presence that yanked him back to reality. That forced his pathetic excuse for conscience to kick in. I turned away from him and thanked Joseph calmly. "I need to talk to Ethan. Drive safely." Joseph nodded and left. The silence that followed was suffocating. I ignored Ethan and walked toward the entrance of the building. "Julia, let's talk." Ethan reached for me, but I suddenly turned around and slapped him. The sharp crack of my palm against his cheek echoed through the hallway. All the bottled up humiliation, resentment, and fury exploded in that instant. I remembered the sight of his back as he left the operating room. I remembered the fear and helplessness of being abandoned by my own husband. My entire body trembled with rage. My voice was cold as ice. Ethan, don't fucking touch me. You disgust me. Chapter 6. I didn't know how Ethan explained things to his family. All I knew was that he had unilaterally ended our Cold War and moved back in. He bought Marshmallow a mountain of toys, constantly carrying the cat around, parading in front of me. Same old tricks. Julia, why don't you hold Marshmallow for a bit? I took the cat and absent-mindedly stroked it twice. Just as he thought I had forgiven him, the doorbell rang. My parents stood at the entrance. Julia, we heard you two are going on a business trip? Yeah, take Marshmallow home with you for now. When will you be back? Not sure yet. Sensing the tension in the air, my parents silently picked up Marshmallow and left. As the door closed, I turned to see Ethan's face drained of color. I casually tossed the toy he had just handed me to the floor. Think about the divorce. Marshmallow will stay with me. As for the rest, let the lawyers handle it. Only then did Ethan realize I was serious. His gentle demeanor vanished. His voice hardened. I don't agree, Julia. Oriana and I are innocent. If you don't like her, I can cut ties with her. Whatever makes you happy. I'll do it. Why was I the one being made to seem unreasonable again? I pulled out a chair and sat down, my tone light. Ethan, who cares who you like? Can't I just want a divorce because I'm done with you? The words caught in his throat. He stared at me and finally snapped. Is this because of Joseph? I took a sip of water. Ethan, don't be ridiculous. Joseph and I are innocent. If you don't like him, I can cut ties with him too. As long as you happily divorce me, I'll do whatever you want. Not even a minute had passed before I threw his own words back at him. For the first time, I saw something close to madness on Ethan's face. But I had no interest in arguing. You and Oriana are whatever you claim to be. Me and Joseph? Same thing. Pure. Innocent. Think it over. And we'll talk. A single, scathing remark sent our relationship plummeting to absolute zero. Ethan refused to agree to the divorce. We were at an impasse. But soon, he found out what it felt like to dig his own grave. Whether it was me bringing Joseph fruit. Whether it was me speaking up for Joseph in front of him. Whether it was the fact that when my wound hurt, I messaged Joseph about it during dinner. Ethan's pent-up emotions finally exploded. He slammed his chopsticks down in front of me. Julia, what the hell do you want me to do? I've already cut Oriana off. How much longer are you going to drag this out? He shoved his phone toward me. Oriana's desperate messages filled the screen. Ethan, please just talk to me. Are you punishing me for breaking up with you? I was wrong, okay? Let's just be friends. I promise I won't disturb your life again. I placed my own phone on the table. Oriana having feelings for you, isn't it expected that you ignore her? Why should I have to give up my attending physician just because you rejected her? My conversation with Joseph was as normal as it could get. Follow up on Saturday. Is your wound still hurting? Much better. Then we'll prepare for stitch removal. Okay. There was nothing wrong with it. But for Ethan, a surgeon, his wife choosing another doctor to remove her stitches was already an insult. I knew exactly what he wanted to say. So I beat him to it. You weren't the one who operated on me, so don't worry about the follow-ups. I'm someone who likes to keep things consistent. Chapter 7. Ethan sat in the living room, silent for a long time. Maybe I was just too furious. But after dinner, a dull, unbearable pain settled in my lower abdomen. Without hesitation, I grabbed my coat and prepared to head to the hospital. Ethan looked up, noticing my pale face. What's wrong? I avoided his touch and opened the ride-hailing app. Ethan saw the destination marked as the hospital and grabbed his coat. It's late. You won't get a ride easily. Don't push yourself. I'll drive you. He was right. Before he could step toward me, his phone rang. Oriana's name flashed on the screen. Maybe it was pure survival instinct. But I snatched it and declined the call. Ethan, I'm not feeling well. Take me to the hospital. Oriana called again. Without thinking, I answered. If you fucking call again, I will personally rip you apart. Then I hurled the phone against the wall. The screen shattered into pieces. I didn't know what had gotten into me. Cold sweat beaded across my forehead. Ethan hesitated no longer. He supported me and led me outside. As we passed the door, he bent down to pick up his broken phone. At that moment, the screen flickered to life. A message from Oriana. Ethan, if this is really your choice, would the world be better if I disappeared? Ethan's face changed instantly. He forgot what he was doing. He called her back, threw on his jacket, and bolted out the door. He even forgot to close it. The noise of his departure triggered the hallway lights. A neighbor peeked out, looking at me with curiosity. I couldn't hold on any longer. I collapsed to my knees. Please, take me to the hospital. I didn't know I was pregnant, or that I was about to miscarry. Joseph arrived just in time to hear the doctor say, "Do you want to keep the baby? If we don't act now, it will be hard to save it." I had already sensed it on the way here. I had already made my decision. No. Joseph stopped at the doorway. The one who stepped inside was a senior nurse from their department, a warm-hearted older woman. Thinking I had just fought with Ethan, she tried to console me while grabbing my phone to call him. "This is a serious decision. Where's Ethan? How could he not be here for something like this?" To people from her generation, a child was a decision made by both parents. I suddenly felt exhausted. At this moment, I had no strength left to stop her. The call connected instantly, but the first voice that came through was Oriana's, slightly hoarse. "Julia, sorry to let you feel victorious for so many days. Ethan is in my bed right now. Did you make him mad? He was really passionate with me just now." The nurse's face changed. She hung up immediately. By the time she tried to call back, Ethan's phone was off. I was already used to being looked at with pity. I smiled calmly. "Sorry, he cheated. I guess I've made a fool of myself. But maybe this wasn't so bad. After all, hospitals were gossip hubs. And Ethan, the ever-righteous Professor Ethan, having his scandal exposed in public? His downfall was only a matter of time." Chapter 8. The procedure didn't take long. I leaned against the hospital corridor as Joseph spoke with the doctor about post-care instructions. Afterward, he sat down beside me and handed me a cup of warm water. The heat seeped into my palm. "Thank you." I hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Dr. Joseph, I used you for some things. If that caused you any trouble, I'm sorry." Joseph gazed out at the night beyond the window, his expression unreadable. "There's nothing to apologize for, Julia. I'm not some clueless 20-year-old boy." "What?" Seeing me staring at him, he got up and said casually, "Forget it. Later, Wang Jia will come and take you to Ethan's on-call room to rest." Ethan didn't find out about the pregnancy until the next day. By the time he rushed to the hospital, I had just stepped out of the rest area. "Julia!" His voice was anxious as he hurried over, carefully cupping my face in his hands. Relief was evident in his eyes. We had a child. He must not have realized he still reeked of Oriana's perfume. I frowned slightly. "Who told you that?" "Wang Jia did." Wang Jia, the same well-meaning nurse who had called him last night. Ethan had always been selective in what he chose to hear. Oriana appeared behind him at some point, smiling sweetly, but there was something else hidden beneath it: jealousy and provocation. "Sis-in-law, I heard you were pregnant." Ethan came running to me last night. He must have lost his mind. She must have thought she was delivering some cryptic, devastating blow, enjoying every second of it. What she didn't know was that her little performance had already spread through the hospital overnight. Several people nearby exchanged glances, pulling out their phones to snap pictures and point at her, connecting the dots, finally realizing she was the shameless homewrecker from the phone call. The atmosphere grew tense. Oriana hesitated for a moment, confused, but didn't think too much of it. I suddenly found the whole thing hilarious. Ethan frowned. "Julia, what's so funny? Did no one tell you? I aborted the baby." Ethan froze. "What do you mean?" Seeing the cold mockery in my expression, his face twisted. "Julia, who gave you the right to make that decision on your own? I'm your husband." The room fell into a strange silence. I didn't bother to hide the ridicule in my voice. "Oh, you remember you're my husband? Where were you when I called you last night?" Ethan's gaze darkened. "You called me?" "Yes. Oriana answered. She told me you were in bed with her, passionately keeping her company, and that I shouldn't interrupt. Gasps echoed through the hall. This mistress is insane, and she still dares to come to the hospital and parade in front of the wife? Ethan's entire body tensed. His hands trembled as he turned to the now terrified Oriana. Is that true? Oriana's face turned deathly pale. Only now did she realize the looks people were giving her were all wrong. Something had gone terribly wrong. She panicked, shaking her head desperately. She's lying, Ethan. She's making it up. I didn't. I calmly delivered the final blow. She didn't just say it to me. Your colleagues heard it too. I took a step closer, my voice eerily steady. Ethan, your mistress is this shameless, and you have the audacity to ask me to keep your child? Chapter 9. Oriana broke down. She sobbed uncontrollably. Under the judgmental stares of onlookers, she fled in disgrace. Ethan stood there as if he had lost his soul, unmoving for a long time. News traveled fast in town. By that afternoon, gossip had already spread from the medical circle to the theater world. The chat groups were filled with ruthless comments. Oriana must be so proud of being a homewrecker. Why doesn't she just go live stream it? Always playing high and mighty during rehearsals. Refusing to add anyone on WeChat. Turns out she's just a filthy fly. The next day, when I went to the hospital to get my medication, I ran into Oriana. Her eyes were swollen red. She stopped me, pleading for my forgiveness. Julia, we don't have to make this so ugly, do we? If you just help me clear things up. I'll leave, Ethan. Clear what up? Just pretend I never said those things, okay? Tears streamed down her face. I can't lose my job. I grabbed a fistful of her hair and spoke in a steady voice. Oriana, didn't I tell you I'd tear you apart? Dragging her by the hair, I marched straight into Ethan's office. I'll give you a choice. I have the evidence. Either you lose your job, or Ethan does. You two figure it out. But if I were you, I'd take the fall myself. 1. Because you love him so much. 2. Because if Ethan loses his job, are you planning to financially support your dear big brother? That day, through a closed door, I heard Ethan's near hysterical shouting, but my heart remained completely calm. Oriana was crying. Ethan, I was just too possessive. I just hated her. I didn't want her taking you away. We were meant to be together. Why should she? Enough. Ethan's voice was cold. You're just a mistress. Oriana stared at him in disbelief. Ethan, that's not what you said before. You love me. Why would I love you instead of my wife? Am I insane? The ridicule in his tone was sharp. Oriana crumbled. Then divorce her. Let's move away together. I'll be your wife. Forget it. Ethan's voice was distant. You've already ruined my life. I can't afford to take care of you too. See? When it didn't affect his life. A first love was a white moonlight, an untouchable memory. But the moment he lost everything, his white moonlight turned into garbage. Honestly, I had only been playing with them for my own amusement. I never intended to let either of them off the hook. After Oriana left, I walked into Ethan's office and threw the divorce papers in his face. I'm not moving out, and I don't want to see you. So don't even think about coming back to that house. Don't fight me on this. Let's not make things uglier than they need to be. Ethan sat there, pale and silent. When I got home, I threw all of his belongings out. I packed up his personal clothes and shipped them straight to Oriana. Then, just for fun, I sent her a message. Here you go. Should last you a month. Enjoy your passion. Since Oriana was an actress, she wasn't exactly unknown. Curious netizens quickly dug up her real identity. Online discussions exploded. Oh, so her whole rekindled love story was actually just her wrecking a marriage? I'd kill to hear that recording where she taunted the wife. Here, let me help. At Xiaoyu Loves Life, sick version, the blogger was recording in a hospital when she accidentally caught the mistress's phone call in the background. I never expected someone had actually recorded it, and even remixed the audio. He was so passionate with me. The phrase went viral. Oriana became internet famous for all the wrong reasons. Several times, street interviews caught her by surprise. She was seen running away, humiliated and disgraced. People even started gathering outside her theater company, demanding answers. Is Miss Passion still working here? Wouldn't be right if they haven't fired her yet. A few days later, the theater released an official statement. Oriana had been terminated. After that, I never saw her again. Chapter 10. In the blink of an eye, autumn arrived. Ethan's scandal had blown up online. The hospital fired him. I took an extended leave to recover, waiting for him to sign the divorce papers. In just a month, everything had changed. The sting of betrayal still crept up on me in the dead of night. We had once shared beautiful moments, breathless kisses, heart-racing touches, and laughter that felt like it would last forever. It was precisely because of those memories that these past 3 years felt like nothing more than a dream. And when I woke up, all that remained was a raw and bleeding reality. I felt hurt, wronged, unwilling, angry, but in the end, it wasn't unbearable. Time would smooth everything over. A few nights later, Ethan called me. I was brushing Marshmallow's fur, so I put him on speaker. His voice echoed in the empty house. I thought he was going to discuss the divorce settlement, but instead, he started talking about the past. How ridiculous. The one who betrayed first ended up being the one who pretended to love the most. Julia, do you remember that time at Happy Valley? You wanted to cross the bridge, so I carried you on my shoulders? I was calm. I remember. It was 3 months after our wedding, my birthday. The first couple to reach the finish line won a small cake, but you tripped and dropped me into the water. Ethan chuckled. Yeah, I felt guilty all day at the hot pot place. You got drunk, kissed me, and told me you didn't blame me. That was the first time I realized I had feelings for you. I said nothing, simply patting Marshmallow on the butt as she hopped around the couch. Ethan asked again. Do you remember the night of your car accident? I do. You got hurt for me. I cried. And Christmas after that. I remember. And New Year's Eve when I was stuck at the hospital. And you brought dumplings. I remember. And the sunrise at Nantang on a snowy night. The sunset by Songming Lake. I remember. Ethan fell silent for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was hoarse. Julia, our memories, there are enough to last a lifetime. Yes, I said with a smile, enough to last a lifetime. But the moment you slept with Oriana, none of them had anything to do with you anymore. You're the one who threw everything away. You're the one who betrayed us. So you're the one who should suffer. I heard the shaky breath he let out, strained with pain. Ethan, I won't erase what we had. Because I was happy once. I was in love once. But that's all it was. The fact that I can talk about the past with you doesn't mean I can't let go. It means I already have. No one says two people have to stay together forever. I won't turn back, and I won't forgive you. A long silence stretched between us. Ethan's voice was barely above a whisper. I have no chance anymore, do I? I stroked Marshmallow's ears. Send over the divorce papers as soon as possible. Ethan, let's end this on a good note. Chapter 11, Ethan's Perspective. After signing the divorce papers, Ethan and Julia entered the mandatory cooling-off period. When he first got married, 2 months had felt like an eternity. An arranged marriage from a blind date was bound to come with 1,000 little nuisances. He had been frustrated, eager for it all to be over. But 3 years later, today, Ethan felt time slipping away too fast. The marriage he once resisted had unraveled before his eyes. In those final 2 months, Julia never forgave him. The soft-hearted, gentle wife in his memories had walked away without hesitation. Ethan often felt that the month he had strayed was nothing more than a dream. His first love, once a cherished memory of his youth, had become unrecognizable. But it wasn't just Oriana who had changed. He had too. The next time Ethan saw Julia, autumn had settled in. The trees along the streets had shed their leaves. She dressed warmer than others, seemingly more sensitive to the cold. Ethan thought about the child they had lost. A dull ache spread through his chest. Wrapped in a scarf, Julia approached him, her tone neutral. Traffic was bad. Ethan glanced in the direction she had come from. Empty. His heart, which had been suspended in uncertainty, found the faintest moment of relief. But mostly, it just ached. I'm in a hurry. Let's get this over with. Julia turned and headed toward the Civil Affairs office. For a split second, Ethan had the urge to grab her, to pull her into his arms and say that he regretted everything. He wanted to tell her that Oriana had been nothing but a stubborn obsession from his youth, that the one he truly loved was her. But just as quickly as the thought came, it disappeared. Julia had warned him, if he tried to contest the divorce, she wouldn't be merciful. His parents were aging. He was unemployed in his 40s, facing the reality of moving far away for work. If he took that job, he might never have the chance to return. His parents had already lost face because of him. They had fallen ill and still hadn't recovered. He couldn't afford to lose the last shred of dignity he had left. There weren't many people divorcing that day. The entire process went by in a blur. When he held the divorce certificate in his hands, it felt impossibly heavy, like it was crushing the air from his lungs. Julia stood before him, bathed in the golden light of the autumn sun. The angle of the sun cast a sharp dividing line between them. Light on her side, shadow on his. Ethan stood in the cold shade, staring at her. What are your plans now? Julia's voice was distant. Nothing special, just work and live as usual. Her hair was tousled by the wind. Instinctively, Ethan reached out to smooth it down, but before his fingers could make contact, Julia turned her head toward the street. Her hair slipped right past his fingertips. A black car had pulled up at the street corner. Julia walked toward it in a hurry, not even sparing him a moment for a proper goodbye. Ethan fixated on the hands gripping the steering wheel for a long time. His mind was a mess, but he didn't dare step forward. He was afraid that if he got close, he would see Joseph sitting in the driver's seat, or worse, another man entirely. So he just stood there, staring at those hands without blinking. The autumn wind stung his eyes. The car drove away. Ethan never got a clear look. Ethan left his hometown and didn't return for 3 years. On New Year's Eve, he sat in a cold hospital duty room. Outside, the howling winter wind couldn't drown out the warmth of fireworks and the laughter of families celebrating together. Once again, he hadn't gone home for the holidays. His parents were still disappointed in him. Most of his friends had cut ties with him after what happened. Ethan had truly become alone. And so, on that lonely New Year's Eve, the memory of Julia, braving the snow to bring him dumplings all those years ago, became an unreachable dream. Just after midnight, messages flooded in with New Year's greetings. Then, a particular notification popped up. Did you know Julia got married? Ethan stared at the message, sat motionless for a long time. His hands trembled. But in the end, he couldn't bring himself to ask who the groom was. Instead, he opened his old chat with Julia. The last message was from 3 years ago. Julia, asking him to meet at the Civil Affairs office to finalize their divorce. Ethan hesitated for a long time, then typed, "Congratulations on your wedding." Outside, firecrackers exploded, shaking his chest with every boom. He took a deep breath and hit send, but the message failed. A red exclamation mark popped up. At that moment, the firecrackers stopped. The world fell into complete silence, just like his heart, withered and desolate.